Views and opinions of any of the guests of After Hours AM are not necessarily the views and opinions of After Hours AM, its hosts, its staff, or any of its affiliates.
Welcome to the After Hours program.
Are you ready?
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Now broadcasting live from the After Hours AM studio, Joel Sturgis and Eric Olsen.
Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Hey, Eric, wrap your mind around this for a second. Where I live in northern Minnesota by the Great Lake Superior, it is going to be 40 below zero.
Fahrenheit.
Yes.
Dang.
Just wrap your mind around that.
I don't think I can.
It
sounds unreal. It sounds like Mars.
It really, when we drive our vehicles around here, I truly believe I am driving on the lunar surface of the moon.
I mean, how does things just stop working when it's that cold?
It just is odd. I don't understand why I'm still here, but a lot of our good friends and listeners via Facebook and other outlets have told me, oh, it's a balmy 73 degrees down here. It's so hot. Or wherever they are in the south going, oh, yeah, I woke up this morning. It's 42. Oh, I thought I was going to die. Oh, come try 40 below zero.
God,
That's
I mean, how do
say.
you even go outside?
You don't.
Really, realistically.
You really don't. Really as little as possible. It's kind of like the opposite of somebody that lives, let's just say, in Arizona during the summer. You kind of hop from place to place with air conditioning. Same thing in the winter here. You kind of hop from place to place of heat. So, yeah, man, it has just been brutal. And, of course, not to mention our hockey rink-type roads that we have, that if you could get a pair of skates on and a hockey puck, you, too, could go out in the middle of the street and play hockey. That's how icy they get. Yes. But, I can't complain too loud. Our summers and our falls and our springs are absolutely phenomenal here. So it's just the winters that we deal with.
Yeah, but wow.
Yeah.
I
It really
thought the
is.
cars stopped working and everything. Do you do anything different?
Yeah, we do. In fact, car-wise, and not to bore everybody that's listening, they want to tune in and, hear, of course, our great guest tonight, which is Vanta M tonight. She's going to be on the show. But what we do here is, of course, you have antifreeze in your vehicles, except ours is more rated for like 50 to 60 below zero. Things like that, little things, if you run out of your heat, let's just say your furnace goes here when it's this cold, you may die. It's
yes.
It's kind of like living in space. What's the difference, really? Minnesota or space? It's really the same thing, minus the oxygen mask.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, talk about variable weather. We hit a high midday today of close to 60 degrees.
Really?
So I'm outside walking our new dog, who is really quite a pain, but lovable nonetheless.
Yeah.
I guess all new dogs are pains.
You know, they're kind of like kids. They grow on you.
They're kind of like kids, except for the part about not being human.
And they lick their own butts. You know, then there's that.
And they, you know, you can't really put a diaper on them.
No, not really. That doesn't work very well. I've tried that.
I know many who have.
That does not work out so well.
I've heard reports. So it's 60 degrees. I'm wearing my coat because I'm assuming it's going to be cold. I get out there.
Degrees.
No, it is not cold. And I take off my coat, and we're walking around. The next time I go outside to take the dog out, which is only about 2 hours later, there is a thick blanket of fog across the entire eerie landscape, and it's down to like 35 degrees.
Wow.
That was 2 hours. 2 hours later.
That is some extreme.
Is that weird?
That is weird because this weekend now we're going to be up in the 40s. So we're going to go from 40 below to 40 above. Talk about temperature shock.
It's quite a range.
Yes, it is. But man, oh man, I don't know. What do you do? It's wintertime. What do? You just kind of grin, bear it, and get through it. And, of course, we have all been dealing with the cold flu season and everything else. So thank God spring is right around the corner.
I don't know if I go that far.
Right around. Well, I'm trying to remain positive because where I am, it doesn't truly get warm till about May. That's when it truly starts to go, oh, geez, I don't need a jacket anymore. Yeah, it's crazy, but there are crazier things out there. Did you know? Now, have you ever heard of this outfit? They have a website, of course, called the Darwin Awards.
Oh, yes. Love them.
Oh, good, because they released their 2016 Darwin Awards. And they shipped me the link to it in the email, and I was reading it, and I thought this is very, very much show-worthy right here. Oh, my Lord, the way people meet their demise. Just some people, you just wonder how they lived as long as they have.
You know, I there's something comforting about knowing that there are people so dumb as dirt out there that even life itself, you know, isn't precious enough to them that they're not willing to do truly profoundly stupid things that will and in fact do kill them. I used to always read, I loved when I was a kid, I would always get the latest Ripley's Believe It or Not book, right?
Oh, I love those.
Oh, me too. That was one of my sent me down the path that has led me to where I am now. The anomalies and weirdness and esoteric.
A young Eric Olsen under the covers with a flashlight.
Exactly.
Reading Ripley's Believe It or Not.
My little paperback of Ripley's. So the one that always comes to mind when I hear about Darwin Awards or just people being dumb as dirt, I think about I think it was German or Austrian, same thing. One of the German-speaking lands, a thief dove out the window of a home, a second-story window of a home, to avoid being caught when the homeowners came home early. And as he dove out the window, he somehow became entangled with a long rope of sausage and was, in fact, hanged by the very same rope of sausage.
Wow.
Thief
Man,
strangles self, diving out window on
when your
string
number
or roll, or whatever you call it. Sausage.
When your number is up, man, it's up. I'm surprised that didn't happen in Wisconsin, to be honest with you.
Sausage is coming to get you.
It is coming to get you. It's going to choke you. The sausage is going to choke you. And that's exactly what happened. Okay, but anyhow.
Yes.
Here we go with the list. Now, there are quite a few people on this list, and of course, number one is just, wow, you just shake your head. But here we go. The first one, he is not the winner, but he is one of the runner-ups. In Detroit, a 41-year-old man got stuck and drowned in 2 feet of water after squeezing through headfirst through an 18-inch wide sewer grate to retrieve his car keys.
Wow.
Think about that.
That is depressing.
That is just crazy. Then next up, we have a 49-year-old San Francisco stockbroker who, in his own words, quotations, totally zoned when he ran, accidentally jogged up a 100-foot high cliff on his daily run. Right to his death, just jumped right off it. He's zoning, man.
His daily run.
His daily
he knew
run.
the path. It's not
Yeah. Dude, I so zone when I run. And then he falls off the cliff and dies.
Lord. Unbelievable.
Well, you've been to the beach, right? I mean, I'm sure you have. You've been to the beach and you know the winds.
I live 2 blocks from the
Okay, so there are some winds involved at the beach, right? I mean, it's not always a happy-go-lucky place.
It could be very windy.
Well, while at the beach, Daniel Jones, 21, dug a 8-foot hole for protection from the wind and had been sitting in the beach chair at the bottom said hole. When
genius.
the sides collapsed, burying him beneath 5 feet of sand. Okay? The dude's sitting there, probably having a line of kugels, going, yep, this was the best idea I ever had. Next thing you know, the sides collapse. The people come rushing to him on the beach, using their hand shovels, trying to get him out. They could not reach him. It took rescue workers, using heavy equipment, almost an hour to free him. Jones was pronounced dead at a local hospital.
Well, yeah, because, you can't not breathe or breathe sand for an hour.
Yeah. Can you imagine that digging that? First off, you have to go through all the labor digging 8-foot hole. And then you sit in it, and you got to know it's like a sugar sand. That beach sand is not made for construction. It's just not really. No, it's just not
sand
really.
is sand. That's
Sure.
why we have metaphors like "don't build your home
on the shifting sands."
sand."
Yeah, exactly.
Shifting sands, exactly right.
Exactly.
Or a sand castle, the permanence of a sand castle.
Yes, exactly.
Etc.
Could you? That's just craziness to me, though. I mean. This guy, Daniel.
That is a really deep hole.
You
can't think that the sand is going to hold up if you dig that deep a hole.
No, that's just insanity.
There will be no structural integrity, I say.
Exactly. And then we have the next guy. Speaking of thieves, because you talked about the thief getting killed by sausage. We have Santiago Alberto, 24, was killed as he fell through a ceiling of a bike shop that he was attempting to burglarize. Death was caused. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, that never comes off well. Death was caused when the long flashlight he had placed in his mouth for light got rammed into the base of his skull as he hit the floor.
Oh, my God.
Could you There you are. I'm going to pull off the crime of the century. I'm going to put this mag light in my mouth, and I'm just going to shimmy on down there. Next thing you know,
my mag light in my mouth.
Exactly. Yeah, best
like
idea.
on TV.
Just like on TV. Tom Cruise got nothing on me. And evidently the ceiling gave way, and he fell right through it. Crash. And, that flashlight really lit up his life there for a minute there,
Oh, my God. Again, boy. See, when you combine stupidity with immorality, that is the double whammy.
Well, I think Sylvester Bredell has him beat. Junior, of course, 26.
Of course.
Was killed. Thank God. I mean, the senior must have been brighter than Junior. I hope, anyhow. He's 26. Was killed when he won a bet.
Well, he lived long enough to reproduce.
Well, he did. So we don't know what happened. The senior we're talking about, Junior, I'm assuming senior maybe was not the brightest bulb in the chandelier, but we will never know because he didn't make the list. But his spawn certainly did. Okay, Sylvester was killed as he won a bet with friends who said he would not put a revolver loaded with. Okay, let me reread that. It's kind of written differently, this one. When he said he could put a revolver loaded with 4 bullets into his mouth and pull the trigger.
Oh, my God, you're dumb.
Sylvester, what are you thinking? You got 6 rounds.
Out of 6.
You got 6 rounds, that old revolver of yours.
2/3.
So you're telling your buddies, Hold my beer. Watch this.
66%.
You're dead. I mean, I wouldn't even bet on
Failing.
those odds in Las Vegas.
66% chance of death.
Yes.
Wow, I don't like those odds.
Could you imagine that party? Hold my beer. Watch this. That's even worse odds than Russian roulette.
It's much worse. That's at least 1 in 6, right?
Yeah, exactly. We got another.
The mind
Yes. We have another mental giant here on our hands.
Well, naturally, it's the Darwin Awards.
Okay, they don't tell the name of this individual, but maybe they will during the
Because they were just
it's kind of wordy.
too
here.
embarrassed.
After stepping around a marked police patrol car, which will matter during this little story. Remember, he stepped around a marked police patrol car, parked outside the storefront of an establishment called H&J Leathers and Firearms, with the intent to rob the store. Okay, think about this. You're going into a gun shop to hold up a gun shop, okay? Well, the store at the time was full of customers and a uniformed police officer, because he just stepped around the patrol car to get in there, and was standing at the counter. Upon seeing the officer and the would-be robber stopped for a second to announce, "This is a robbery! Put him up!" Yeah, and fired a few stray rounds into the air just to reinforce his point. The officer and clerk promptly returned fire.
Well, of course they did. It's a gun shop.
It is, and several customers also drew their guns and fired. The robber was pronounced dead at the scene by paramedics. Crime scene investigation, which it wouldn't have to take a mastermind to figure this one out, located 47 expended cartridges on the floor.
Oh, my God.
The autopsy revealed
Go ahead.
he was shot 23 times, and the ballistics identified rounds came from 7 different weapons.
All right, let's think of this. People in that shop live for that moment.
They do.
They've been praying for someone to show up and do just what he did. And look what happened.
Well, really, I'm going to go into a gun shop to announce I'm going to rob the gun shop.
While it's open.
While it's open, not
It's
only...
not even breaking in. It's not even breaking and entering, which would be slightly less stupid.
So far, this guy makes the rest of the people look like absolute geniuses.
Let me think. Where am I most likely to be killed in a hail of gunfire?
Yeah. Well, Paul Stiller and his wife Bonnie didn't fare too much better. They were bored.
Even the winner.
No,
our unnamed fellow was not even the winner.
No, he was not the winner. He was not the winner. This one is an honorable mention before I get to the winner.
How? Can it be?
Exactly. Paul Stiller, 47, and his wife Bonnie were bored one night, and they decided to go for a drive around 2 a.m. They lit a quarter stick of dynamite and to toss it out the window to see what would happen. Apparently, a quarter stick of dynamite. They lit it. They decided, hey, watch this. Let's throw it out the window, see what happens. Apparently, they failed to notice that the windows were closed. They're rolled up. They blew themselves up with a quarter stick of dynamite.
Oops!
Thus, not only crashing the car, right, but careening into a pond. After you've blown yourself up, you careen into, go through a guardrail, crash the guardrail, and then drown.
Unbelievable. And then drown.
And then drown. Well, our winner, though, after all this, after we talked about people gun shops, people robbing places, you name it, all the dumb ways you could die, I truly feel sorry for this next one. This next one is a zookeeper named Frederick Rosenfeld. He is from Pedoro, Germany. and he takes care of the elephants, the pachyderms. And he had a constipated elephant on his hands, and so he decided to give this elephant 22 doses of animal laxative.
Oh my God.
And more than a bushel of berries, figs, and prunes, in efforts to get his beloved pachyderm unplugged. So he decides one final step he will do is he will give this pachyderm, this poor gentle animal, an olive oil enema. Well, as fate would have it, while he is standing behind her, while Frederick is standing behind the pachyderm, it decides to let loose its full load of fecal matter all over him. The sheer force of the elephant's unexpected defecation knocked him down to the ground, where he struck his head on a rock as the elephant continued to evacuate 200 pounds of dung on top of him.
Oh my God.
It seems to be just one of those freak accidents, says his employer. But overall, I guess we all have to say, it happens.
Oh my God. Well, that was the, 2-ton elephant.
I almost feel sorry for that guy.
Well, I do feel sorry.
He's trying to do, be nature's friend, help.
He wasn't committing an illegal act.
No, he wasn't.
Like our robbers.
No.
He wasn't doing something just patently stupid,
No, he
like lighting a quarter stick of dynamite inside your car with the windows rolled up.
Yeah, he wasn't doing anything dumb. He was at work.
He was doing his job.
He was doing his job, and he decided that, his poor, lovely pachyderm is ailing. And decided that it would be the right thing to do to relieve its pressure, so to speak. And when it did, 200 pounds of it came just careening out at him.
The mind boggles. There are many, many jokes, but I feel too bad. I don't want to put jokes in the direction of our poor late elephant keeper who was drowned in a 200-pound onslaught of elephant poo.
Well, there's what a crappy job, man.
God Almighty, yes. It's that day, his job went right in the crapper.
It did. It was one of those days it could just flush. Yep. Just Unbelievable. But I, between the guy with the sandcastle, the sand hole, the ceiling bike robber guy killed himself with his own flashlight, and then you have the guy with the revolver, the gun. Yes, the guy with 4 bullets in his revolver, opposed to only having 1 and thinking that he'll survive. All in all, that's your 2016 Darwin Award winners of the dumbest deaths that occurred this last year. And wow, it kind of shakes my faith in humanity in some levels.
It really, here's what it comes down to, I think. I think on the one hand, some people are just doomed. When it's your time, and it's going to get you.
I think stepping around the marked police patrol car should have been an omen to our would-be robber that maybe I should not be doing this right now.
Yes.
Maybe I should just keep on a-walking.
You combine the fact that some weird things are just going to happen. You combine that with the fact that there's such a large volume of people in the world. It's just statistics. I mean, we got we're getting close to 7 billion, isn't it now?
Yeah.
And with that volume of people, it just simply really, if anything crazy if anything can happen, it will happen.
Murphy's Law.
It is Murphy's Law. If anything can happen, it will happen. And you combine statistics with Murphy's Law, and you get the Darwin Awards.
Yeah.
It's sad on the one hand, it's hilarious on the other. It's a combination of the two, I guess.
They had a whole show about it called 1,000 Ways to Die.
Yeah.
which was in essence the best of, greatest hits, if you will, of the Darwin Award, highlighting the weird ways people have left us.
Absolutely.
I wonder
So
how deadly
it's,
2017 is.
it's nuts. It's nutty.
It really is. What was the weirdest death that you, other than the sausage guy you read at Ripley's? What is the weirdest? I think the weirdest from last year was, I think for me, going back to 2015, and this tops that list, was the guy that got bit by the rattlesnake taking his selfie.
Yeah, that is dumb as dirt, obviously.
Hey, Mom, watch this.
I got one, and this really is sad. It's just sad because it's not only real, but I actually knew the guy's son. All right,
really?
So when I was a teenager, I was working, just summer job, and you put in an ad or you answer an ad, and so we're just working at this very large, I guess you'd call it an estate. I would say the house certainly classified as a mansion, and it was on several acres, so I guess it was an estate. And so we were just doing a bunch of cleanup work in the yard, and we were doing this and we were doing that, and we were painting and just all kinds of stuff.
Sure.
It was a very mixed terrain, and there was forest, there was lawn, there was gardens, and so there's plenty to do. So we worked there all summer, and I worked with 2, 3, maybe 4 at most other kids, other people around my age. I think you had to be able to drive. I imagine I was 16. So one of the guys I worked with, none of them went to my school. They all went to a private school, and I think they all knew each other previous to this, other than me. So the one guy, we were painting, and he goes, "No, I don't get involved with that. I'll do anything else. I don't get involved with paint."
I don't do paint. Yeah, no thank you.
So finally, I kept bugging the guy. Well, what do you mean you don't paint? What's no big deal? You just go up and down, whatever. Use the roller.
Yeah,
it's
you
easy,
saw
it's fun,
Karate
it's
Kid, right?
cool.
Did you tell him you've seen Karate Kid, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Paint the fence. So I kept bugging him. He finally goes, "All right, I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you what happened. My father was painting.
Sure.
I believe it was outdoors, and he spilled an entire, or almost an entire, gallon of paint." That's the size they come in, right? That's the big one?
Yep, that'd be the big one.
Gallon of paint, almost full, I think he said, all over himself. Very disappointing, very upsetting. So what did he do? Well, he filled an outdoor, and this was the summer, outdoor tub, I think maybe in the garage, a tub full of paint thinner.
Oh, no.
He then climbed in the tub of paint thinner and expired very quickly.
I would imagine. Asphyxiation.
From a combination of the fumes, asphyxiation, plus the added effect of the paint thinner eating out all the fat in his skin from the outside. I mean,
what a way to go.
Horrific. Who would even believe this?
Oh.
So on the one hand, it was inconceivably stupid. On the other hand, it was incredibly tragic and awful. This guy was a father. He had a family. He had a full life ahead of him.
Yeah.
It's
Wow.
an awful thing. That is about the weirdest I've ever heard. I had another friend who I worked with just one summer, completely different. This is when I was in college. Worked with at the old TRW at a warehouse. And his father had been killed when an enormous industrial air conditioner fell on him.
Oh, my God. So he was standing on the ground.
Those are two that I am, one step removed from in the real world. I knew both of their sons, and they're terrible, and they sound,
That is horrible. I did know a guy that was stealing gasoline and thought using a cigarette lighter to see the level was the best course of action. He met with a quick end.
Oh, God, it's just, like I said, so I felt really awful, of course, when I heard about what had happened.
I would imagine, because you knew these people, but man,
But then I kept pestering him to tell me why he wouldn't paint,
well, you got your answer. You got your answer. Why he wouldn't paint?
So yes, I did. So that's what happened, and those are that one, the paint thinner one. I think genuinely is the oddest.
That is
I've
odd.
heard.
That is scary odd. But man, we got to run the break, and we come back. We got your awesome, cool. Don't want to miss them over there on Twitter, of course. The America's Most Haunted Headlines. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right here unless something weird happens. We'll be right back after this. Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today to learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes two. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed,
680 to 90, 10-4.
could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
It's your ideas, work, and creativity that make it your yard. At ACE, we're here to help with hoses and sprinklers to nurture growth, gardening tools for the shape of good things to come, even the right fertilizer and bug killers to make the grass a little greener. You'll find it all now at ACE, your place, with everything you need for your yard, plus helpful advice, almost like we're right there. ACE,
the helpful place.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
And now, the final crowning touch for this cake. Take a bite.
Chocolate.
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
we are going to shower you with some beautiful headlines.
And that shower may even be golden in its hue.
Just don't tell the Russians.
We shan't. We have vowed to not get into it, and we're not going to do that. All right, my friends, let's head on over to the America's Most Haunted Twitter feed, that august tome of paranormal wonderfulness,
And
all things paranormal, spooky, and amazemo.
We
So
assure you it's real news. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not fake news. It's real news.
Okay, I'll stop now. I will stop. I will. I'll behave myself.
Well, we're not CNN. We're real news. All right, at AM Haunted, my friends. That way you can click on the links and you can see all the cool guy images.
Oh, yeah. Awesome
and
stuff.
you can participate. And while you're there, you might as well, follow us. You might as well do some retweeting.
Yeah, love on us.
Do some favoriting. Yeah, rub up on us. All right. Have you seen this one? That's a pretty... If it isn't fake, and I always have to say that, my friends, if it isn't fake, this is a rather disturbing and compelling video. Home security footage shows haunted doll twisting head from side to side.
I heard about this earlier.
Before all hell breaks loose in the room, and papers go flying, and furniture goes flying, and the poor little girl just, blows out of there like a bat out of hell. No pun intended.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about this video. It is super creepy. It is really creepy.
If it's real. I mean,
yes, if it's real.
So
if it is real.
It's always hard to know.
Absolutely.
You have to add that caveat because things are so easily faked. But
yes.
If it's real, it is genuinely creepy. You really can see the doll twisting its head back and forth.
Yeah, but you could fake that, like you said, you could fake that with a few bucks, go to Radio Shack, get yourself a doll. You could get something with a remote actuator in it and do all that crap. So you're right, it is suspect, but taking at face value, it's terrifying.
Exactly. And that poor little girl, oh my. I mean, I really, really can't imagine that she was, quote unquote, in on it, right?
No, I would imagine she doesn't seem that way.
Doing this to this poor little girl?
Oh, that's
that
horrible.
Would be horrifying.
That would be horrible if they're doing that to that little girl just to make a video and traumatizing her.
I agree.
There's other things that could traumatize her. Why are you going to do it?
And if it's parents or anything, oh my God, they would deserve the worst. But we don't know any of this. We're just speculating. All right, moving along. One of the greatest names in Japanese cinema is Kurosawa. Now, this is not the original famous Kurosawa. I'm not even sure if he is a relative, although he may be. But this is a new guy, younger guy, Kiyoshi Kurosawa, who is making his name in very stylish horror films. And this one, which I've heard about, Creepy, comes to the U.S. now on DVD, digital, on demand. And it looks genuinely...
It does look... another one is that... Yeah, another one that looks creepy is that Bye Bye Man. That looks creepy, too.
Yeah, that one was getting promoted all over the place.
Yeah, but... wow, I'm just kind of stuck in this video you were talking about here. I want to play it in the worst way. But it's creepy as hell, that little girl. Oh, my God. I have a mute and I'm watching it go. Wow, that's just horrible. Sorry.
I know.
That's just
poor thing.
Yeah, that poor little girl.
All right. We're in agreement there. If it's real, wow. And if it's not, shame on whoever. Boy, I'll tell you.
Exactly.
All right. American Horror Story. We're right now, this is the middle of the TCA, the Television Critics Association Winter Gathering. This is where all the networks come out and pitch their new shows and say what's going to happen and what's getting renewed and all that kind of stuff. American Horror Story is now picked up, is guaranteed to have at least 9 seasons.
Really?
So three more than it's already had.
Wow.
So there's 3 more guaranteed already to run on FX.
Well, it's been really popular. I mean,
very successful.
The last one, I have mixed feelings about the Roanoke one. I kind of, but the hotel was episodes were really creepy. I mean, Kathy Bates makes it though. In a lot of those shows, Kathy Bates was in the hotel, and she was also in Roanoke. My God, she. You see the latest one where she wants to move and she has all the creepy kids in her house? You see that latest commercial?
Yeah.
But she just does horror. She's quickly becoming an horror icon.
She really is, and it goes back, of course, to Misery when she was relatively a young woman.
Yeah,
but no less creepy, that's for sure. And I mean, she got the Academy Award for Misery. She was very frightening in that. She's a very broad. Has a very broad range, and she could do anything from light comedy. She was in a couple Adam Sandler movies. Remember, she's in the Water Boy.
Yeah, you don't be going playing that foosball.
Foosball, yeah, that was hilarious. To the most deadly serious of horror and kind of everything in between. So she really has range, and even just within American Horror Story, we've seen very broad range.
Oh yeah, she's a hell of an actress. Really, I like watching her on film because she's so good. She's so compelling as an actress, and I mean, she puts a lot of times, to be honest with you, when you see her on American Horror Story, she puts her co-stars to shame a lot of times with how good and compelling she is compared to like a Lady Gaga. That obviously she's not a real actress per se, but quite honestly, she made that series for me anyway. She made that series.
Well, that was a great character, or two characters, this last year, where she Roanoke, where she's playing the reenactment of the ghost, you know, the horrifying, terrifying woman, the killer, the axe. What was she called?
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. She was the killer, killer ghost in the reenactment, and then she played the actress who played the killer ghost, and she was so great in both roles.
Oh yeah, she was great stuff, and I can't wait to see what they do next with American Horror Story. That should be pretty cool.
So we have at least 3 more years, and people seem to agree. We got a lot of favorites on that one. People were pretty darn happy about it. All right, now those of you who are not looking at Twitter, you won't see this amazing image. I just love it. Plus, it's super, super creepy. Nature, purple, not red this time, of fang and claw. We have an image of a spider devouring a housefly underneath the very purple petals of a periwinkle flower.
Is that what that is? Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, it's a flower. And you got the spider and the fly inside.
Oh, that is disturbing.
I know, and it's so colorful.
It is. It's like beautiful death.
I think that was a hidden murder was actually the title of the image.
Wow.
Which was the image of the day for Smithsonian Magazine.
That's a crazy image. That is, and that is a real image. That's not a painting. That's a picture taken.
That's real. It's a photograph.
Wow, that is
so
creepy.
It's so colorful and so odd that it is hard to figure out what it is. But when you know, then you know. All right, did you know this? Because I don't think I really did. There's a great story. They now have they have new proof, and this ran in Science News, that the Earth's continents have broken apart and come back together, not once like I thought, but many times.
Really? See, I thought it was one and done. You know, they broke apart.
Was the original.
Yep.
Right.
So they're saying now that the puzzle's been put back together more than once throughout our history.
Many times, over billions of years.
So there's a chance that one day it'll happen again.
It will happen again because it's in constant movement. And here's a really surprising thing to me. The movement, the total reconfiguration of the continents on the Earth can take as short a time as only 200 million years.
Wow. In Earth realm, in Earth time, that is
not long at all.
That's pretty quick. That's very quick.
If the Earth is, let's see, what is, I forget now. I know the universe is almost 14 billion years. I forget now what the Earth is. I'll have to look it up. Yeah. But it's at least several billion years.
You ever ask yourself what was there before the universe?
Every day.
You know what I mean? Because obviously there had to have been something there before the universe was there. Because if they could date the universe, that means there had to have been a forerunner to the universe.
Right. Well, there are various theories. If you're approaching it from a purely religious standpoint, it would be God.
Yeah.
God is what was here.
Yeah.
From various theoretical scientific standpoints. Oh, it's not quite as old as I thought. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old.
Oh, is that all? It's a youngster yet.
But even so, if you think about it, right, if it's 200 million years, that means it could change 5 times in a billion years.
Yes.
So 5 times 4 is 20. The continents could have rearranged 20 different times. I don't think they have, but it's possible they could have in that time frame. Think of that.
Sure. I mean, think of the small amount of time we've been here. since the continents were together as a Pangea, we've had the Roman Empire, we've had Christ walking the earth, we've had all sorts of things happening in that time. And when you speak about Earth time, that's nothing but a minute during the hour for the Earth.
Right.
So it's
geological time, it's very brief. So if you think about it, 5 times every billion years.
That's super cool. That is really
Earth
super cool.
Rearranges itself like a puzzle.
Yeah, maybe we'll become south one day, Minnesota, and we'll have nice weather.
You won't have minus 40 degrees.
No, we
tonight.
won't have minus 40 degrees. We'll have 100 degrees. Oh, well, actually, I don't like 100 degrees either. Never mind. We'll have 60-degree weather.
I don't mind 100 degrees if it is truly dry.
Yes.
If it is genuinely a desert kind of, it's still hot, but it's not miserable. But if you add in any humidity at all, it's awful.
Yeah, we have the 90-degree heat with 100% humidity here pretty frequently.
Ugh.
I know, it sucks.
All right, moving along. Here's another really cool law of nature story. Physicists have cooled a tiny drum fashioned out of, it's microscopic, out of aluminum to just above absolute zero. Absolute zero
so
is
barely
the lowest
exists.
it can ever go. There's no movement. Nothing moves. No atoms move. No subsections. Wow. Nothing moves. It's dead still. But what's so interesting about this is their ability to bring it down as cold just above absolute zero as they did defies the current quantum laws.
Interesting.
So something is wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is interesting also. Because now we're bending the laws. Now we're bending the laws of physics.
On the tiny scale. So we're on the planetary scale, talking about the continents. Now we're talking about the atomic scale.
Yeah.
So I don't know what this means, but something is wrong because this defies.
It does.
Law.
It's very that is cool as hell, man. That is cool, man. You gotta love the science that we're bringing to you folks. Come on.
Well, I love it. Science in and of itself, the actual doing of science, I don't find that interesting just because it's so repetitive.
Yeah.
And you got to keep track of everything, and it's so serious and all that. But I love the results, in the mind, the theoretical, what it means. The results of cutting-edge science. That, to me, is absolutely...
Yeah, next thing you know, we're going to live 500 years, and they'll be able to recreate organs for us as they fail. You just never know.
Well, that's already going on. But did you hear there's a new theory? This just came up very recently, within the last a month or two. A longevity biologist, someone who studies this, has said he thinks that we're much closer to the maximum average. Now, this is an average. This is obviously quite a bit higher than the average is now. But this guy thinks the maximum average life expectancy, no matter what we do, no matter how much technology we add, no matter what we learn, no matter how many disease we cure, the average is only going to be about 115.
Oh, is that all? 115? Oh, geez.
Well, but think about it. When all these predictions of people are going to live 200 years and 1,000 years and on and on.
Would you want to live till 115?
If I'm in good shape,
I would not. Yeah, okay, I'm talking the current, your body breaks down crap that we all face as we age. I personally would not want to live to 115.
Not... based on that, no, I agree. I mean, if you were breaking down, falling apart, aging, having diseases, having organs fail, all the things that happen now these days, if you were to have that happen, then no, I don't want to just exist for the last
just to
20,
say
30
you did it.
Right. No, I don't want that.
Yeah, just to say, yep, I made to 115.
But I'd love to be in reasonably good shape and live.
So you would like to find a way to reverse aging while you're
Absolutely,
aging.
yes. Or at least delay it.
Gotcha. Hey, that'd make the most sense. Find a way to reverse aging. That way you don't have to worry about longevity at all.
I agree. It's a fascinating field, and it's one that a lot of people are looking at. You know who's the most interested? You got all these billionaires.
Oh, yes, of course.
Funding all of these, middle-aged and older billionaires who are funding all of this research into anti-aging technology.
Yeah. Yeah, well, while the rest of us are just happy to have $20 in our wallet.
And just plug away whatever age we've made it to by now.
Well, I made it far enough. All right, I'm good to go.
I'll tell you what I have noticed. Part of it is social media and the access and participation in it. That is at such a relatively high level these days. But I'm noticing, week by week, month by month, certainly year by year, people in my age range. I'm not that old. I'm in my 50s. People in my age range are falling by the wayside. People. Things happen.
Yeah, I
kind of really pick up steam in maybe the later half of the 50s, where things start to break down.
Well, even in your 40s, you know what I mean.
Well, it can.
I'm not as strong as I was when I was 25. Now I'm 42. I'm nowhere near as buff or as strong as I was. I definitely don't recover as quickly as I did when I was in my 20s.
Boy, that's the main thing I noticed, the recovery time.
Yeah, but, with age comes wisdom, and one of the points of wisdom I learned is the night before is rarely worth the morning after.
Oh, my God, are you right about that? I am learning that weekend by weekend the hard way.
Yeah, and that's the wisdom I learned, because my Lord, I used to drink like a fish in my younger days, like most people did, especially at college. Oh, if I were to do that today in my 42-year-old body, my liver would wake up next to me going, "Did you have fun last night?" Because I sure didn't.
I notice a big difference. I'm talking just in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
In what I can take. I'm down. I think we've said this on the air before. There are times, if the circumstances are wrong, and those wrong circumstances would be maybe I don't feel that great in the first place. Number 2, I don't eat enough. Number 3, just other circumstantial. They say if you're down, if you're not in a good mood, alcohol affects you more and causes more of a hangover. Anyway, I'm at the point now where if I don't eat and if everything is aligned against me, I can actually feel 2 beers the next morning.
Oh,
that's not normal, but it happens. And I noticed last weekend, one of the weekend nights, I had 3 beers. I didn't feel right the next morning. 3 beers.
No, I think most of us are there, especially once you pass that threshold of the 40s, and you, because it sneaks up on you is what it does. Like I used to be an avid ghost hunter. I cannot stay up all night anymore like that anymore. I used to go sun up to sundown. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Or sundown all the way to sun up, and, it didn't be fresh as the days the next day. Nope, now it's, 9 o'clock sounds really good to go to bed. Oh, yeah, I'm tired.
Plus, as we keep saying, there's a lot of health risks in your typical ghost hunting location.
Sure there is.
Abandoned buildings, you got mold, you have asbestos, you got dust, you got all kinds of problems.
Oh, I firmly believe that contributed to my breathing issues. Throughout life, being around and being in these locations as much as I have been. And another thing to watch out for as your paranormal investigator is maybe we don't think about as much as we should, but asbestos is still very much out there in these old buildings.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you're in a building for several days, some of us, or even, several weeks out of the or days out of the month, you are being exposed unduly to, you shouldn't be exposing yourself at all to asbestos. Zero. We have zero. You should have zero tolerances to it, but these old buildings, a lot of them have not been gutted with their asbestos. And I know that other people in the paranormal, other investigators that have been at this a long time, have said the same thing, where they've had illnesses that were kind of related to being in these older buildings.
Look at among the most visible and famous of them all, Zach Bagans. He doesn't even go in a building without a respirator anymore.
Yeah, it's a real deal, man. I mean, it's the dust and allergens and lead-based paint that's flaking, falling like snow, along with the asbestos. It can be a dangerous gig, and
very serious. You got to take it seriously.
Yeah. Did you see, though? By the way, our good friends over there at Paranormal Lockdown, they got a new show. You got a new episode coming out. By the way,
By the way, that is actually our next tweet. That's right. Tomorrow night, it's back on the air. Season 2, Paranormal Lockdown. Nick Groff, Katrina Weidman. And they're visiting one of our favorite creepy-ass places, Waverly Hills.
Really? See, now, Waverly Hills, I've never gone there. Have you ever gotten there? Have you ever got to Waverly? Really? What was it like for you? Oh, wait a minute. I take that back. I have gone there. Never mind. I did it, though, in the early days before it was really the giant that it is now. And it was kind of interesting, but I want to know your take on it now that people have investigated and maybe kind of stirred up activity.
Very, very, very foreboding, creepy feeling pretty much throughout the entire building. Lots of shadow people. It's the corner of your eye kind of thing. It's a very, very large, industrial kind of feel to the building. It has a lot of things we're talking about in terms of kind of falling apart and being creepy. I think there's a lot of resident energy there. And, we covered it absolutely in the America's Most Haunted book. I think we did a pretty good job of recalling the tales and the history of it and some of the experiences. I went after. I've been there after the book was written, but we certainly used a lot of Teresa's experiences, which were many and various and very dramatic at the place. So it's real interesting. I'll be very curious to see what they run into on Paranormal Lockdown. I noticed in the preview video that they are in the Death Tunnel.
We're gonna have to get them back on the show.
We really are.
We do. I want to hear what they got to say.
We're to the point where we have them on about every 6 months.
Yeah, we got to get them back on and tell us all about
them on for Halloween.
We did.
We're not that far off.
No, we're not. We're about due for our Nick and Katrina fix.
Well, maybe we can get them before the end of this current season.
That would be cool. I'd like to hear their Waverly Hill experience, what they came across. Because, they're in there for 72 hours straight.
I know.
Yeah, that's a long damn time to be
it really
in one
is. All right,
location.
we got to get one more.
I
see we're running out of time here. All right, skip down one. Really cool story actually about Planet 9, this theorized huge planet way, way, way out in the distant reaches of the solar system, and it may have been captured by the sun from outside the solar system. That's interesting. But the image we all must see. Look at this 25 mile per hour sign. Look at what is falling off of it. Photographer captures miraculous moment when traffic sign dies and it leaves the body.
That is a cool picture right there.
Isn't that an amazing picture?
That is an amazing picture. Watching that ice that has embossed the speed limit sign, sheeting down the sign. That looks pretty damn cool.
Very good description. You described it well. That is exactly the image. So for those of you who can't see it or don't see it or refuse to see it or whatever, that is what it is. There's a sheet of ice that formed across a 25 mile per hour speed limit sign, and it is now falling down.
It is.
And it's almost off, but you can still see, as Joel said, embossed the speed limit 25 on it. And it looks like the spirit is taking wing.
It does. It's dying. It's going to heaven now that it's met its limit.
Actually, it's going down.
I wonder what
that
is.
means.
Well, Very, very cool stuff.
I do not take responsibility for it. I found it on Facebook. I changed the wording a little, but the general thought was already there that the spirit is leaving.
Very, very cool. We got to run to Fox News. We come back. We have Vanta M tonight. We'll be talking to her about all things paranormal, shadow people, and the like. Don't go anywhere. You're going to love this one. See ya. Well, I'm just looking. Wow, that video still gets me, man, of that little girl.
Fox News Radio, I'm Kathleen Maloney. The Senate Intelligence Committee has heard from top intelligence officials about Russian hacking during the presidential election.
I don't think I've ever been in an intelligence briefing as clear as this briefing was.
Republican Senator Bob Corker of Tennessee, his Democratic colleague Dick Durbin of Illinois says the briefing heightened his concerns about Russian cyber attacks.
This is something that we need to take seriously. The only good news that came out, and it's been repeated, is that we have no evidence that they infiltrated the actual voting process in this country, but they did everything short of that.
It was the first briefing for lawmakers since the report on Russian hacking was released last Friday. Donald Trump's choice for CIA director breaking ranks with the president-elect concerning intelligence findings on Russian hacking. Congressman Mike Pompeo says it is a serious danger.
We have an awful lot of work to do. There's no reason to expect that this threat is going to diminish, and that will take a whole-of-government effort to do that, shared by the executive branch and the legislative branch to achieve better cybersecurity for the national infrastructure as well.
Pompeo speaking at his confirmation hearing. Mr. Trump's choice for defense secretary cleared a hurdle in the Senate, lawmakers granting retired Marine Corps General James Mattis a waiver, allowing him to fill the position, even though he hasn't been out of the military for the required 7 years. But the vote wasn't unanimous.
There were 3 prominent Democrats, Kirsten Gillibrand, Richard Blumenthal, and Elizabeth Warren, who voted against the waiver. So there are some prominent Democrats who came out against it. They believe that a civilian should be in charge of the military.
Fox's Jennifer Griffin at the Pentagon. Stocks closed lower, the Dow dropping 63 points, S&P falling 4 points, NASDAQ down 16. You're listening to Fox News Radio, fair and balanced.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Cubans who make it to U.S. soil will no longer be allowed to stay and become legal residents. President Obama repealing the wet foot, dry foot policy after negotiations with Cuba.
This is an extraordinary man with an extraordinary career in public service.
President Obama awarding the Presidential Medal of Freedom to his vice president. An emotional Joe Biden accepted the nation's highest civilian honor, saying he doesn't really deserve it. He also displayed deep affection and admiration for the president.
I can say I was part of the journey of a remarkable man who did remarkable things for this country.
And the president joking that the tribute gives the internet another chance to joke about between him and Biden. The pay gap between college grads and those who only complete high school is wider than ever, according to the Economic Policy Institute.
Those with college degrees not only were more likely to have jobs, they made more in 2015 with paychecks 56% fatter. That's up from 51% in 1999 and the greatest divide since the think tank started keeping track in 1973. housing. Income, not the only advantage college grads have. There's also disparities in home ownership, retirement, even marriage rates. Statistics from the CDC finding women with college diplomas enjoy an 8 in 10 chance their first marriage will last 20 years, double the odds of women without college degrees. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
Former Senator Barbara Mikulski has a new job. She's joining the faculty of Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore. The 80-year-old will start next week as a professor of public policy and an advisor to university leaders. Mikulski represented Maryland in the Senate for 30 years. She retired earlier this month. I'm Kathleen Maloney, Fox News Radio.
And welcome back to After Hours AM. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, and right along with me,
Eric Olsen.
Hey, Eric, man, we got a great guest on tap tonight, so why don't you fill in our fine listening audience around the world, as well as over there at iHeartRadio, Dark Matter Radio, Parax, everywhere else. Why don't you inform them?
We loves you all.
Yes, we do. We love you. Mwah! That goes to you guys right there.
Yes.
I won't send any pictures.
iHeart,
don't worry. Yes, iHeart. We love you. Just cause. We
All
iHeart
right.
you.
Well, we have with us author, traveler, explorer of the esoteric, Vanta M. Black, and she will be talking about her epic historical paranormal novel, Oubliette, A Forgotten Little Place. In Oubliette, a paranormal and historical fiction novel that consists of 7 interwoven stories that revolve around a French castle, readers are transported to an ancient pagan ritual, Roman-ruled Gaul, the bloody Inquisition of the Knights Templar, France as it's ravaged by the Black Death, and the duplicitous Reformation, the Paris Catacombs, and the gory French Revolution. We hop all over history. It is woven together in an expert and riveting manner. And we're talking about a person who has had real life experiences, not only with shadow people, but has traveled to reference the book. She's been to Leap Castle in Ireland. She's been all over France. She's been to castles. And she's here on the show. Welcome, Vanta M. Black. And great job on your novel, Oubliette, A Forgotten Little Place.
I don't believe I've ever had an introduction like that. That was awesome.
Well,
Thank you.
I'm glad you added the "it was awesome" because I wasn't sure which way you were going with it.
Eric is the best in the business, by the way. If you want an intro man, that is the man that you want, is Eric Olsen. And he does appearances at birthday parties for a small fee.
I do. Fabulous. Bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, all.
Yeah, a bris if you pay enough. He'll even hold the scalpel in his shaking hands.
Fundraisers for prom after parties, you name it.
One word of caution for all you planning your bris: he does drink a large amount of Red Bull before he shows up to events. You may not want him holding the scalpel.
And I really don't believe in really sharp objects.
Oh, jeez.
I think fairly dull is much safer.
Gosh, you're so mean. You're so mean. Okay, let's get back to what really matters, and that's Vanta. Vanta, I gotta ask you. Writing the book that you wrote, of course, Eric just says fiction, but there's a lot of hinting of truth there. You went through your own paranormal experience. I mean, what kind of got you? I guess I should back up and say what got you on the road of the paranormal.
And yeah, you touched on it right there. When I was younger, about 12, 13 years old, I had these shadow people experiences, and you're probably familiar with them, just to kind of freshen your, memory. It's basically when you're asleep, you experience something called sleep paralysis, and that means you can't move, but you're instantly alert and awake. It's like lucid dreaming. I'm aware of what's going on around me. I know I'm in bed. I know I'm asleep. And all of a sudden I feel this heinous presence in there with me. And it's this sense of dread. Like I know it's going to do something really, really bad to me, and I'm paralyzed. I can't move. And I would have these visitors over and over again, much into my early 20s, actually, and probably as recently ago as just about 2 or 3 years. Anyway, so this experience, for the longest time, I didn't know exactly what it was. I would read about ghosts and paranormal things because I wanted to figure it out. I mean, it was so real, so authentic, so terrifying. And as I was reading, I found out that throughout history, in many, many cultures, there were similar accounts. In some cultures, it was called the old hag. You've probably heard of like the incubus and the succubus. Yeah. So I realized, oh my God, this is ubiquitous. I'm not alone in this. And so that inspiration, that real experience is what I put into Oubliette, because the main character in the book, her name is Veronica, she has the same experience. Now, for her, the experience turns out to be the other side basically trying to use her as a conduit, trying to break through. What actually happened to me, I can't say what that was. All I know is it was real, it happened, and it was terrifying.
Well, that seems to be an event that crosses, boundaries into cultures and time and everything else. Yeah, it used to be called the old hag syndrome. A lot of people would describe the feeling of having an old woman on their chest while they are paralyzed. And of course, you have your situation where you're the shadow people, and other people have told me they've seen aliens during this happening. So now it begs the question of, what's really going on, and is it, obviously it is paranormal, but is it picking the shape and size and what it is that would scare you the most? That's my question. Is it something paranormally related, but it knows what scares you?
Oh, that's a good perspective. See, in my experience, it was usually male. Like I just sensed it was male, except for 1 or 2 times where I felt like, and this is going to sound crazy, but I felt like it was almost animalistic and about the size of a cat. And it would crawl up into bed with me, and I could feel it as if it was trying to burrow into my side, like it was looking for a soft spot where it could crawl into. So that's creepy as hell, Vanta. That is creepy. Okay, here you are laying in bed, having a nice dream about maybe the Backstreet Boys back in the day or whatever, and here comes a cat-like creature crawling on you, but not just crawling on you, but getting. Excuse the tone, but intimately close to you in some ways, trying to burrow its way into your side. Oh my God, you must have been terrified beyond terrified. I was. And here's the thing, because you're laying there, you're paralyzed. It's like being sedated, but then being awake. Like you can't move, but you know everything that's going on. And the only way I could, quote unquote, break out of it is by screaming. And it took all of my energy, all of my willpower to just kind of go, and then it'd be gone. It was like, done.
Yeah, it's almost like what's been described to me is once the victim takes control, either by screaming, some people have told me they prayed, and that made it go away. I think it's more control. I mean, just speaking off the top of my head as an investigator, that it's more control. It's you controlling the situation rather than the other way around.
I think you're right. And I did have somebody tell me when I was in my mid-teens, their advice to me was, you make it go away. You chase it away. So it's very similar to that. And it seemed like once I did that, the encounters became less frequent.
Very cool. Very, very cool. Eric, have you ever had something like that happen to you? I know you had a lot of weird crap happen to you. Have you ever had anything try to
mention that?
Okay, here we go. I knew something tried to burrow inside you.
Before I tell my tale, though, I think it's really interesting because there may be listeners who say, well, okay, Vanta, I believe you. I'm sure that happened. But that can be fairly easily explained away through sleep paralysis, right? But something happened to you that raised it another level because someone else got involved, right?
Yes, and I agree. And as I hit my early 20s, I saw this documentary, and they were talking about how electromagnetic waves could cause the experience. And they basically explained it away because they were able to reproduce it in a laboratory. And I was like, that's what happened to me.
Yeah.
Explanation solved. And then when I was my now husband, when we were just dating, he came over to my place and we're sitting there watching TV. And like I always do, even to this day, I fell asleep while watching TV. And it was on a timer. And I was laying on the couch. It was one of those L-shaped couches. So I was kind of on one end laying, and he was sitting on the other. And as the TV went off, he described seeing this shadow person. That's actually why I call them shadow people. I didn't have that name until this. Described this sinister looking figure, a shadowy form. He describes them as like the figures in the movie White Noise, if you remember that.
Okay.
Kind of that long, slender, shadowy. And he said the thing was looking straight at me. And I was sleeping, and all of a sudden I screamed, I sat bolt up, and all of a sudden he looked over and the thing was gone. Now, the weird thing is that he never told me about that. And I never told him about my experiences because I didn't want him to think I was crazy. We just started dating.
Yeah.
Like, I have shadow people visit me.
By the way, meet my friends. They only come around once in a while. And I like to call him Hat Man.
Right. It was probably about 2 or 3 years after we got married that we were sitting down at dinner having drinks, and he was like, this happened once upon a time. And I just, I freaked out. And then I told him the whole story, how they visited me, and then obviously how I would make them go away by screaming, which was something he didn't know. So that was the moment where I was just like, holy heck, that really
Yes, that pulls you outside of yourself. All right, well, here's my story. And then I have you probably know, having researched this, do you know about the Hmong people, the Hmong, who were refugees in the U.S. after the Vietnam War?
I do.
You know what happened to them?
I do. They died in their sleep.
Died in their sleep.
Terrified.
It is their absolute belief. These are young men who died very mysteriously in their sleep. It is their unshakable belief that these deaths are caused by a malign spirit. It's pronounced Da Cho in Hmong, and it's said to take the form of a jealous woman who gets literally upon their chest and suffocates them.
But that's a succubus. I mean, that's the classic succubus.
Basically.
I mean, that's what they're describing is what we in the West would describe, or someone, an investigator and writers would describe as a succubus. But I remember reading the case study on it, and they were befuddled of why these otherwise healthy young refugees were dying.
And there was an outbreak. I mean, this was going on. This happened to many individuals across the 70s and 80s in the U.S. So it was not only in their home Laos, but here in the U.S. So, that's another
in fact, fun fact,
I would say, proof that there's something going on there.
Fun fact, that's where Wes Craven got the idea for Freddy Krueger.
Ah, well, that certainly makes sense, doesn't it? All right, so here's what happened to me. Some of your descriptions, Vanta, literally pulled out of my brain and mouth. When I was a freshman at college, I was asleep in the middle of the night, dead asleep, absolutely, deep REM. I was in my dorm room at college, middle of the night. All of a sudden, something woke me up instantaneously. It was like an electric shock had gone through me. I was completely and utterly awake, sitting bolt upright in my bed, instantaneously from a deep, 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 deep sleep. I looked across the room. I was on the opposite side of the room from the door. I looked over toward the door. There's always a little bit of light that comes from under the door.
Sure.
Well, right in front of the door, inside my room, right in front of the door, was a very dark humanoid figure. Much darker than the darkness of the room. Really obviously a different color of dark from the darkness of the room. As if the little bit of light.
A darker
coming
shade of
door,
black is what you're saying.
A darker shade of black. So all of a sudden, kind of as soon as I saw it and recognized it, had no idea what it was, it moved steadily across the room and enveloped me inside of it. As I was enveloped inside of it, all the things that you were saying. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't do anything. It was utterly horrifying. It was terrifying. I felt completely helpless, completely hopeless, and it felt like it went on forever. I'm sure it was really just a matter of seconds. It couldn't have been probably realistically. I mean, I doubt it was even 30 seconds, but it felt like it was a very, it felt like an eternity. Maybe it was only 10 seconds. I don't know. But during that time, complete paralysis, couldn't breathe, couldn't move, couldn't make sounds, couldn't do anything.
Man.
Utterly horrifying.
Oh.
And then, as quickly as it had come, it disappeared.
Wow, that is, I've never had something, Eric and Vanta, I've never had anything like that happen to me. Thank God, knock on wood, if, knock on my desk, but now something's going to happen to me tonight. I just know it. I just tempted fate.
Well,
but that,
what's even more interesting or strange is the aftermath. The next morning.
Is there a, oh wait, there's more moment here?
Oh, there's an oh wait, there's more. The next morning, I got a call from my mother. I was going to school about 200 miles away from home, but we were in Ohio, and my grandmother was all the way on the other side of the country in Southern California, where we were all from. I got a call from my mother the next morning saying my grandmother had died the night before at the exact time that I had that experience, and as she and I were talking, the exact same thing had happened to her at the exact same time.
Wow. That's flipping crazy, man. I mean,
so it was our hope, and nothing to base this on other than hope and maybe a bit of a gut feeling. My grandmother had died of a cardiac arrest, and it was our hope that the experience that my mother and I simultaneously had took away some of the, or at least was sharing in the discomfort that she was having at that time, so that she did not feel alone. And it's our hope maybe that she didn't even feel it at all if we experienced it for her. Yeah. But that was a truly profound experience. I wouldn't have thought that much of it, especially as I looked into it and found out about sleep paralysis and that it wasn't, terribly unusual, but for that aspect of it. That
sure.
My mother had it at the same time, 200 miles away, and based on the, on the assumptions, on the estimations after the fact that was at the same time that my grandmother had died.
Wow,
so that is my shadow person experience.
That is strange stories, guys. Creepy. They're creeping me out just a little bit. I'm looking around the studio going, okay, where's the shadow? Okay. Okay. The glow of the studio here. Okay, now, Vanta, after all this happened and you're now husband and you have this, moment of, oh, my God, you saw that too. Where did you go from there? I mean, did it spark you to want to learn more and keep going? Or did you kind of put it away and go, okay, well, at least I wasn't crazy at that point?
A little bit.
Oh, okay.
Both, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, because a lot of time. Oh, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. But.
Oh no, that's okay. I mean, absolutely. It's what it kind of bubbled inside me for a long time. I've always been, or since then, been interested in the paranormal and trying to figure things out. Because I think just like with the death of your grandmother, you that experience has to be related to something, and it kind of begs the question of, does this mean there's an afterlife? And I think that's the ultimate question that we all ask, right? Mm-hmm. So in a way, it sounds counterintuitive, but you want it to be true because it proves that there's something more. Now, It might, in these situations, it's not a very pleasant experience, but then you hope that means that there's the counter to that it means that just because you're experiencing something bad, that the good stuff has to be out there too.
Yep. Well, exactly. The yin and the yang kind of approach to it. That there has to be something good out there if there's going to be the bad. And so when you embarked on, furthering the paranormal, your paranormal interests, did you find yourself being an active investigator? Actually going to locations and, I know we're going to talk more about castles and stuff, but, you just don't jump into a castle. I mean, where was your kind of your ground zero for investigating?
Again, it was learning about these places and finding an affinity with them. So as you probably know with Leap Castle, it's allegedly haunted by an elemental. And I thought that elemental kind of sounds like that crazy cat thing that would try to burrow into me. And it made me start to wonder about, well, you kind of think of the spirit world as being ghosts or souls, basically, of people who have passed. Mm-hmm. And, there's a whole other mythos, and a lot of mythos about, demons and jinns and things that are, they never were human, so to speak. So that's what drew me to Leap Castle. I saw or read, and I mean, the information in the history of Leap Castle is pretty profound, and you can find out a lot about it. And I was drawn to that place. So even though in the book Oubliette, my castle is set in France, it's very much inspired by Leap Castle. Leap Castle has an oubliette, which is a pit or a dungeon where they would throw people and leave them to die. And the theory is that pit has so much bad stuff and so much, so many people that have died within it, that it's basically unleashed or become a portal for this elemental demonic spirit-like thing. And again, it's very similar to the shadow people or the creatures that once haunted me. So that's really why I was drawn to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's creepy as hell, Leap Castle. I mean, it's been featured on everything from ABC Family's Scariest Places on Earth to, Most Haunted. Ghost Hunters, I think, went over there. I mean, of course, Ghost Adventures. So a lot of big budget TV shows have been interested in going there, and it doesn't disappoint. It never does. There's just something about that castle, and I think you said it the best. There's an elemental. And elementals, from what I understand, you can't just banish an elemental. They are what they are. They are here. They are as old as the earth.
Yeah, exactly. And the one at Leap Castle, I mean, there's a lot of speculation as to how it got there. They say that even before Leap Castle was built, that was the site for pagan rituals, and that's what kind of opened up that gateway for it. There was a woman named Mildred Darby. Their family owned Leap Castle for a while, and that was during the Victorian era, and she would conduct seances and such, which was very in vogue during the Victorian era. And they say that she helped unleash it. And again, going back to that oubliette where they would just literally throw people and leave them die, that spot kind of just opened up this hole into some other world.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, I mean, it's got a bloody history. I couldn't imagine being thrown in a pit. You know what goes through my head when I hear people being thrown in pits? It puts the lotion on skin or it gets the hose again.
I think of Monty Python.
Monty Python.
Well, yeah, why Monty Python?
Well, because remember in the Holy Grail when they're in the castle and they're all singing and dancing, and you got these poor prisoners down in the dungeon hanging, there, and they're singing away, and it's also terribly absurd, but it's also sad.
Well, it kind of is sad when you think about it. Well,
it's actually very sad.
It is very sad, but Monty Python was actually, using humor, but also sad at the same time. Just the atrocities that happened back when things like this was happening. I mean, it was horribly bloody, horribly bloody. And why wouldn't we think that these events would not manifest something?
Exactly. And what's interesting, too, is at Leap Castle, some of the more sinister families would invite their neighbors, their frenemies, so to speak.
Come on over. We're going to have a great time.
And they would essentially invite them over to this feast, throw them in the oubliette, and while they're upstairs feasting and having a great time eating and drinking and dancing and listening to music, their enemies are down in the hole basically starving to death.
We have a new oubliette. Want to go ahead and take a tour of it? Hey! Ah! Wow.
And the interesting thing, too, is that concept of you're not supposed to basically kill or defile the trust that you have when you invite somebody into your home. That's something that George R.R. Martin explored with Game of Thrones, that whole concept of if you invite somebody in, like during the Red Wedding, you're not supposed to kill them because that's the absolute worst thing that you can do.
Well, it makes cleanup so much harder. After the party. But, anyhow, we got to get out of here. We got to pay some bills. We'll be right back right after this with more Vanta M Black. Don't go anywhere. The shadow people might come get you.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Anavar Media LCC is a dedicated team of professionals committed to helping business development scale and protect their websites, mobile applications, enterprise software solutions in the Northeast Ohio area. Locally owned since 2012, our client-centered values truly sets Anavar apart. Contact us today and learn how you can get 25% off your first project. Call them at 234-380-4852. Again, that's 234-380-4852, or visit them at www.anavar.com. Again, that's www.anavar.com.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at SmokeyBear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Do you have a question for our guest tonight? Don't feel like calling the show? Not a problem. Email those questions to afterhoursam@gmail.com. Again, that's afterhoursam@gmail.com.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
And welcome back to After Hours AM, everybody. I'm your host, like always, and with me, like always,
Eric Olsen.
Hey, Eric, we are having a great conversation with Vanta M Black, and of course, we're talking all things kind of crazy, strange, and awesome. But, the shadow people thing is still in my mind, and Vanta, when you went through and you talked about shadow people, really want to dig into it, did you find a lot of documents and history about what had happened to you, not necessarily from the scientists, stuff like that, but first-hand accounts of other victims throughout history Was there precedent for this activity?
Lots of precedents. I mean, just to name off a few, well, put it this way. I couldn't find an area of the world or a time in history or culture that didn't have some kind of account of sleep paralysis, shadow people, jinn, ghosts, whatever you want to call it.
Mm-hmm.
The island of Fiji, they called it being eaten by a demon. And in order to make it go away, they'd have to sit up and yell, "Eat, eat, eat." And that was apparently to make the demon reveal its agenda. In Turkey, they had the jinn, kind of the basis of genies, but it wasn't like blink, blink, and you're going to get 3 wishes. These things were nasty. In the United States, they have something called, in the southern part of the country, something called witch riding, and it goes back to that sensation of something sitting on your chest, kind of like we were talking about the incubus and the succubus.
Yeah.
But they believed it was a witch that was actually sitting on you, straddling you, kind of squishing the life force out of you. There's all sorts of them. Brazil, Greece. In Iceland, they had this goblin-like thing that was very similar to the hag that was known as Mara. And it would come at night and it would try to do something very, very sinister to the host. And there's just a bunch of them. It's all over the place.
In your research and your history reading about this phenomena, who coined the old hag syndrome? Was that primarily an American thing in your readings, or was that old hag syndrome used in other cultures?
I saw old hag referred to in a lot of different cultures. I think it's a name that we've kind of adapted. It's one of the more common names.
Yeah.
But again, incubus, succubus, and you mentioned it earlier too, a lot of people think that the alien encounters and abductions are just another form of, the syndrome.
See, I kind of always, after one of our good friends is Rosemary Ellen Guiley, and I'm sure you read some of her work, or maybe even talked to her yourself, but she goes in depth about the jinn. And the jinn will kind of work on your worst fears. And that's why I kind of said, well, maybe it's something that's working on your worst fears that knows how to present to you to scare you. And I always thought that maybe the jinn has something to do with these encounters, because that's what primarily their MO is, to scare, to become your fear a lot of times.
Yeah, and like the sensation or the theory that it's sucking something out of you. It's there for a reason. It's not just saying hi. It's almost as if it's pulling your energy, your life force. It's draining you. And even that kind of starts to dovetail into vampires and those legends.
Sure.
So it seems like with all of these different things, whatever you want to call it, a jinn, a vampire, a goblin, a ghost.
My mother-in-law, whatever I want to call it.
Exactly. They all have something in common.
Okay, very interesting. I didn't mean to revert back to the shadow people because I know we moved on. But that kind of popped in my head while I was thinking, well, how far back does this really go? And what did you uncover in your research on it? Because, of course, Heidi Hollis, she coined the phrase the shadow people. I mean, that's what they say. And she coined the Hat Man. A lot of people see the Hat Man. And I was so surprised when you didn't open up with, I see a guy that looks like he's wearing a hat. Because that seems to be the most common, is the Hat Man. But when you said it was more animalistic, that made me stop going, whoa, wait a minute. No, that's entirely different than most people's descriptions.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm familiar with the Hat Man too. Mine never wore a hat, but I had both. I had a very male, probably about 6 foot tall type of figure, and the animalistic ones as well.
You had the Cat in the Hat.
You did. What do you think about that?
I'm very curious, Vanta. How then did these lifelong or much of your life anyway, experiences? How did those actually manifest themselves then in your book, Oubliette?
Yes.
And by the way, we should let people know about your website and how amazing it is, and they can get any and all information and excerpts from the book and really great video promo for it. So tell us about how people can get a hold of you, and then again, I'd love to hear how your experiences actually come out through the fiction of the book.
Sure. Finding me is easy. The website's vantammblack.com. You can also find me on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Insta. So I'm all over the place, really. If you Google me, you're going to find me. It's not hard at all. And the book is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and many other online retailers as well, both digitally and hardcover and a paperback as well. As for the inspiration and, what went into the book, let me just tell you this. When I went to Lep Castle to really feel and understand what people went through, I was able to sit on the cusp of its Oubliette, that famed place where so many people, they estimated over 150, because that's how many bones from different individuals that they pulled out in the 1920s. And these are people that were laid there over millennia. And I'm staring into it. And it actually, it's not like a well that goes straight down. I think that's what a lot of people envision. But it's actually like a little ramp or a little platform, and then it drops down. So they wouldn't let me go all the way to the edge, but I could sit there and look into it. And I just imagine what it must have felt like to be lost and forgotten down there. That's literally what an oubliette means, a forgotten little place.
Yeah.
So when you were down there, if the fall didn't kill you, and sometimes they even put spikes at the bottom, not so much to kill you, because the goal wasn't to make you die outright. It was to make you suffer. So if you did get nicked or impaled by one of these, a lot of times it wouldn't cause an immediate death, but you'd be sitting there bleeding out, probably sitting literally on top of the bones of your predecessors, people who had died there before, so you know darn well what's going to happen to you. And then the smells, the sounds, you're inside like the heart of this castle, a place that's alive with people and children running around. You could hear church sermons, everything, and you're just down there dying. And as I stared into the real oubliette at Lep Castle, like that feeling, that sensation was overwhelming. And that's what I put into my book.
Wow. Good description.
Yeah. Well, Vanta, I have to ask.
Goosebumps.
Yes. During their unearthing of the bones, was there any evidence that children were thrown in there as well?
I think they found bones ranging from all ages. They even found a pocket watch from the mid-1800s. And when they did this again, it was about 1920 or so. So that was only 70 years in the past.
Yeah,
so,
wow.
Yeah.
Creepy stuff. And the way you tell it was just goosebump-inducing right there. And I couldn't imagine being in this oubliette, just looking up, knowing that there's no hope for you. But hearing life teeming above you. You know, wondering, does nobody know I'm down here? I mean, you know, why is nobody here saving me?
Or they know and they don't care.
And that's even worse
How
yet.
would that make you feel?
That's even worse yet.
Yeah.
You know, to know.
Well,
I'm
it's
not
torture. It's absolute torture. And it's not even that they know and don't care. They are reveling in the fact that you're down there.
Do you know of any paranormal activity that has happened in and around the oubliette?
Speaking for myself, I will say this. When we were there, I was snapping pictures because I'm loving it. Like, this is one of those moments in my life where I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here.
Yeah.
And my husband was with me, as well my daughter. And the guide who took us up, it's called the Bloody Chapel. That's where the oubliette is located. So it's up high. And so we're up there, and they're talking. They're just talking away. And I'm snapping pictures, snap another picture. And I didn't realize it until later. But my husband was kind of looking up over the guide's head. And in the first picture, nothing there. Second picture, which I took, half second later, we can see orbs above his head. So I thought that was kind of crazy.
That is crazy. Because the place is haunted. And of course, we talked a little bit about the elemental and that kind of suffering and that kind of trauma, would almost beckon something like that to it.
Yeah, exactly.
You just can't have that much turmoil and that much hardship and that much torturing without it leaving a stain, so to speak.
Exactly.
Another key part of the story, you did all kinds of research through, 2 millennia is covered in the book, basically. But the fascinating story and history of the Knights Templar. What were you able to find out about them? There's so many tales. There's so many legends and myths. What is your perception of the actual reality? And was there anything to it beyond just jealousy and economic and power issues when the King of France, King Philip, went after them in 1307? Was there any actual legitimate reason to think that they were heretics?
Well, here's the thing about the Knights Templar. A lot of times we think of Holy Grail stories and them traveling to the Holy Land, going on their crusades. There's also this tale. It's just this wicked tale. And again, I just kind of bring all of these things together in the book because there's this legend of a head, a mysterious head that apparently the Knights Templar worshipped. And when they were being accused of heresy, and actually it happened on Friday the 13th in 1307, and that's why, and we have Friday the 13th coming up, that's why people say that it's an unlucky day. But basically, they were accused of worshiping this thing, and some said, again, it's one of those things where they have a lot of speculation as to what it was. Some said it was the head of a demon. Some said it was a Muslim deity because they're going back and forth to the Holy Land. Some even said it was the head of John the Baptist that they had gotten a hold of, and it apparently gave them great power. So that's one account of another quote-unquote reason why they were convicted and accused of heresy and basically shunned by the church, because the church at that point, they just wanted to get rid of them. And yes, I think there was a lot of politics and financial reasons involved as well. But here's the creepy thing. So in my research, because I love the Knights Templar, I think it's very interesting, but I didn't want to go into that whole Grail thing. So there's this legend about the head, and it's the account of this young warrior back during pagan times who he loses his bride-to-be. She dies suddenly and tragically, and he can't get over it. So he creeps into her crypt in the dead of the night, and he performs the most unspeakable act that you can imagine with a corpse. Yes, he did that.
He did that?
Oh, he went there.
To believe it or not, Vanta, this is not the first time we've covered that topic on the show.
It is.
That does not even shock us.
There's more than one violated corpse in our background.
We talked about an individual that lived with one for 7 years, like man and wife living. So, no, but no, that is horrible. That is.
So that what? How does that relate to the head then?
So apparently,
sorry,
so to speak.
This deed that he committed was so vile that he was basically cursed, and his dead bride, her corpse, 9 months later, gave birth to this thing that is described as basically a head that would walk on nothing but
Wait.
2 legs.
Back up for a second. Back. I gotta process this.
I knew you'd respond to that.
Oh, okay.
I already read it in the notes.
This dude, right?
I knew it was coming.
Yeah, I there's no way to prepare yourself, Eric, no matter how many times I read this, until you hear it live, okay? I knew it was coming too, but I was cringy. But here's the deal. This guy has relations with a corpse. He gets the corpse pregnant. It gives birth to something that's just a head that likes to waddle around. That is so weird. What the hell?
I wonder how real that legend might be.
I don't know, but what did it walk around on? Just little nubs? Or did it say you should have quit when you're still ahead? I mean, what?
That's another example of Ivar the Boneless. Yeah. If you've been watching Vikings.
So it gives birth to this thing, And how what is its chosen method of locomotion? This thing, it kind of slides around, or what?
Yeah, and here's the thing too: is they say that the Jolly Roger, the skull and crossbones in pirate ships, they tie that to Templars as well. And so the theory is that if you can imagine the Jolly Roger, the skull and the crossbones, as being like an animated thing, it kind of looked like that. And then again, this legend of the head, it was basically a head, and they were able to use this thing, control it, and it gave them power. They were able to conquer it, and it helped them to, conquer the Holy Land and do all of the things that they did on the Crusades.
So we can think ahead? Thanks for thinking ahead. Wow. I mean, that's a crazy tale.
It's a head scratcher.
A man truly ahead of his time.
We only have 10 more minutes, which is hard to believe. We have blasted through another fascinating episode. What I would love to hear, since you have become an authority, you are an author, you're a novelist, you're a researcher, we'd love to hear your own personal worldview regarding the paranormal. How does that all fit together? What is the reality of it? What are your thoughts? What is your theory? Where do you place the paranormal, or how do you place the paranormal in your worldview?
I am such a skeptic. I really am. I want absolute proof. I want hard evidence. I don't take anything lightly, even to the point where I doubted myself and my own experiences and kind of wrote them off when I first, found out about shadow people and how they could be stimulated with electromagnetic force fields and such. Yet, with all of that said, I know so many people, like your own, Eric, with your grandmother, like that kind of stuff. I hear it over and over again. And if we all have had some kind of similar experience, it has to be something. Mm-hmm. Now, what it is, I can't say. Is it the other world? Is it spirits? Is it something that we have biologically built into ourselves through many years of evolution that causes the same kind of reaction for whatever reason? I can't say. Put it this way, I'm a skeptic. I want to believe because I think that if there's proof of this kind of stuff, then it means that there's got to be more to life than just what we have here and now. But that's pretty much where I stand.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's happening to too many people to turn a blind eye to it. I'm with you. There's more to it than what we're seeing right now.
Yeah. It's just, what is it? That's the big question. What does all of this mean?
That's the $64,000 question that we're all, I think anyone that's interested in the paranormal or investigates is trying to figure out. What does this all really mean at the end? What are we looking forward to at our end time? I think that's really what it comes down to is how does this all work? How does this whole universe and cosmos and afterlife, all that stuff, how does it work together?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It seems to be the biggest question. And as you're at a place like Lep Castle and you're writing in your book, I mean, during these horrific times, and you cover 2 centuries in the book, including the plague times. Oh. Mm-hmm. The plague, did that play in mythology when you read? Did that play a lot into some of these stories as well? Because death literally was only a handshake away sometimes.
The time of the Black Death is one of the most intriguing periods in history, if you ask me, for so many reasons. It got literally so dark. Yeah. It killed off so much of the population, and then in a weird way it gave rise to so much beauty and knowledge. That was the birth of the Renaissance. That was the end of feudalism. There wasn't enough people anymore for there to be serfs and slaves in the countryside. So it's one of those things where it's like the story of the phoenix rising out of the ashes. It actually did a lot of good for us. Even biologically, they say that a lot of our immunity comes from the time of the Black Death, and we've been able to fight off a lot of diseases because of that. It's made us, stronger as a population. Mm-hmm. Now, within the book Oubliette, And just so you know, the book itself has several different intertwining storylines. There's a main storyline of two sisters who are drawn to this castle in France. That obviously has an oubliette. But then all of these other stories start to unfold around them, and they're from different times in history. And the one during the time of the Black Death is about a priest who basically has to go hightailing across the countryside. He's on a mission, and he sees all of this death and destruction, and he starts questioning his faith, which is something that actually happened at that time. So I don't know. The time of the Black Death and what it did to people, how it changed society, to me is really interesting, and at the same time it's very terrifying, because it's almost like society and people had to go through this in order to come out on the other end better than what they were.
Well, we're only one mutation away from a superbug causing the Black Death again. I mean, that's what I've heard scientists say, it could happen again. It really could happen again, the Black Death, and we could find ourselves back in the throes of a pandemic.
Mm-hmm. And that in itself is one of the scariest things that can happen, right? So there's different things that scare us. So yes, shadow people scare us because that's very real and kind of in your face. But disease? Think about it. If you find out somebody in the room with you has a cold, what do?
Run away.
Get away. Yeah.
Yes.
We have this innate fear of disease and catching something because, quite frankly, we know that it can kill us. And in history, it has time and time again.
Yeah, it really has. I mean, we just had the threat of Ebola recently making its rounds and killing a lot of people. Thank God it was contained and things are taken care of. But that so easily could have gone sideways.
Well, look at the Zika virus.
Oh, exactly. The Zika that we have right now that's out there that's causing all sorts of issues and trouble. And, and back then, back in the times that, you're right about, they didn't have the benefit of quote-unquote modern medical science. So they didn't have antibiotics. They didn't have those things that would fight off something like the plague, because the plague now, gets a penicillin, you're good to go. But back then, there was nothing to treat them.
No, they would bleed you out. They thought it was in your blood. They'd stick leeches on you.
Can you imagine that? Hey, why don't you come on over to the bleed fest we got going on? We got a leech with your name on it. Don't worry. You're good to go. No, this has been an awesome discussion with Vanta M Black here. And wow, what a great book. What a great website. Again, you can go to Amazon, Barnes & Noble, better bookstores, and even some not-so-good bookstores. You can get it there, too. You can get it everywhere. It's really hard not to find Vanta's work out there lately, and that's been really a masterful job of marketing. Like we're talking off the air. You're a self-starter. I mean, that's good to see. I mean, you really have this labor of love, and you made it a reality. I cannot applaud you enough.
Thank you. That is so sweet. You guys are the best.
We try to be, once in a while. Every third guest we're nice to. The other two, don't talk to them.
Well, we do. We toss them in the oubliette.
That's what we do. Be gone with you now into the oubliette. We will call you.
Listen to us pamper our next guest.
Yes, we're gonna tell them how great they are. Meanwhile, you scream, "Don't listen! They threw me down here."
Yep, it's right here below me.
Yeah, it's right there. Shut up down there. I'm doing an interview.
Enough out of you. You had your chance.
No, but
Why
don't we tell people how to get a hold of you and the book?
Absolutely. It's easy. VantaMBlack.com. That's the website. And if you just stick that into a search engine, you're going to find my Facebook. I'm on Pinterest, Twitter, Instagram. I'm everywhere. So, yeah, I'm easy to find.
Very, very cool. Very good stuff. Again, that's Oubliette, and it's going to freak the hell right out of you, to be honest with you. And it's written in such a way, it's so compelling. The way you wrote it, and it really feels like you're going in a time machine, and you're going back there, and that is really a hard thing to do, to be that believable too as you're writing. I mean, really, and you were saying, I cannot believe this at all, Vanta. This is your first novel.
Yeah,
I couldn't believe
it's kind of like several novels in one, though, because of the fact that I wrote all of these different little stories and tied them together.
Yeah, very true. Yeah, it's more like would you say it's more like a short story form?
Each one of them, if you read it just beginning to end, it stands on its own as a short story.
I love those. I love those, and the books are like that because it gives you such bang for your buck, as they say in the entertainment world. You get a lot of bang for your buck with something like that, and keep them coming. I'm sure you got a few more in you before you're.
Yeah, there's an Oubliette too in the works. Don't worry about that.
All right, man. We will be looking for that. In the meantime, we got to get out of here, everybody. But take care of each other, love each other, and make sure you stay away from that Oubliette. You don't want to end up in there. Let me tell you, the last guy didn't fare so well. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.